There's a huge revelation that's going to take the world by storm. Yet another massive movement that you need to be a part of and you need to learn all about so that you and your businesses can make hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's in the health space. We're going to cover that game-changing shift in this episode. All right, world, we are back with the second of this two-part series as we're discussing industry-leading entrepreneurs, which is a great term. It's very, very great. And we've gone through 5.
Thanks, I made it up.
8, which means I think there's 3 left.
There's 3 left.
If my math
but
serves
they're
me.
powerful.
Okay, so these are the big ones.
Powerful.
All right. Hit me with number 6. I'm going to write this down.
Number 6, industry-leading entrepreneurs use every personal setback as a setup.
Uh-oh.
So when they get hit, they remember it is nothing more than a great part of their story. And the person that comes to mind when I think about this one is Elizabeth Smart. She was kidnapped out her window at knife point as a child and raped for 9 months. This person not only came, was when she was rescued, not only became a speaker on the topic of sex trafficking, but she chose to love and has a family, like 4 kids. She's just living a beautiful life. But again, her story and her being willing to share her experience allows people to understand this great evil taking place in the world.
Okay. No, that's a big one. And she has a very, very powerful story for those who haven't heard it.
Mm-hmm.
If you are near your computer or searching device, make sure you pull up Elizabeth Smart, gain some of that insight, because she pours into so much and she's healed in such a dramatically incredible way as well.
Well, for those who don't understand post-traumatic growth, it's actually one of my new favorite things to impart to especially our heroes. We've all heard of post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. Yeah, there's a thing called post-traumatic growth.
What?
And what happens is we can become victims of whatever trauma that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But from victim, you normally, after you move out of it, become what's classified as a survivor.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have a third option to become an advocate. And so if you actually look at the chart on like what trauma does, it takes you down. If you stay down, then you potentially develop PTSD. If you bounce back to whatever your normal happiness level is, then that's just called life resiliency. You're going to have some triggers, whatever. But the trauma can actually take you down, but then take you to almost a superhuman level of being able to stand in the gap for people who have experienced the same trauma and can't pull themselves out of it. You get to become that voice.
Dang. For those who are listening, the reason I did the podcast in the first place, season 1, 2, and 3, is so I can sit in front of one of the greatest minds on this earth. I've never heard of post-traumatic growth. I love it. That makes a lot of sense.
I love it. It's so
I also am really interested in the victim, survivor, advocate, right? Like that. Progression. Absolutely. So all that being said, thank you for that information. That's incredible. And what's the 7th one?
Number 7. I don't know. Are the people ready?
Make sure you hit the like and subscribe and all the good things. If you're ready, I know you're ready. Hit us.
All right. Number 7, they use economic downturns to reorganize and get ahead. So they refinance, they buy discounted stocks or real estate, and they take part of the great transfer of wealth that happens in these downturns. And it doesn't even have to be a full downturn. It can be a great season of fear. I do believe that the media has a full grip on our society.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not on board with whatever they're saying, you can get canceled real fast. So we're not getting political here, but I'm just saying that grip of fear they have, which allows them to sell lots of ads, can create these downturns or fears or buyer pullback. And again, I'm not ever telling you to be manipulative or to do any of that, but because nobody in here has engaged in sheepism or the sheephood, we are leaders.
Mm-hmm.
We are people who are awake.
Mm-hmm.
We are keeping an aerial view on life and understanding what's possible for us and our communities. And we find opportunities and we create them if they're not there. So again, anytime there's a threat, a great fear, or a real economic downturn, use that to reorganize and get ahead, because that is what leaders do. They find opportunity in those obstacles.
And what's cool is you mentioned reorganize, but you also threw out a really cool word, refinance.
Refinance.
Just in case, since we got plenty of time in this episode,
Mm-hmm.
you want to hit people with what a refinance is?
Refinance. So when interest rates dropped to basically free money, people who had 6% interest, they got the opportunity to refinance their house and get better terms, which they were very smart to do that when that was an opportunity because money doesn't stay that low.
Yep.
Other opportunities are if you have built up a bunch of equity in your property and you want to pull it out. One of the ways to do that is to refinance your home and get new financing, pulling out that equity, and or you can get a home equity line of credit to access those funds. What do you do with those funds, J Money Down? What can people do with those funds?
Oh my gosh, it's a very, very, very long list, but also fun tip / pro tip, you never pay taxes on a loan.
Right.
And refinances are loans from the bank.
Right.
So you build up a bunch of equity in a property or an apartment complex or a hotel or a house or whatever, and you refinance that, pay off other debts, invest in the markets, buy businesses, buy cash flowing assets. You don't pay taxes on that.
Right.
So that could be part of your salary, all kinds of cool things. But I figure we'd just drop that in there since you threw out the word.
Little dangle.
You know, little dangle, a little bit of information. All right, so we have one more, the eighth and final one, the tip, the common denominators for industry leading entrepreneurs, because everyone listening to this, I think, I believe, I feel like probably wants to be that level of entrepreneur.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's our listener base, really. And so this last one is new because success and the metric for success has changed, especially in the last decade. The way people view success and label it is that not only do you have enough money, but you have happy relationships and you have your health. Having been even with morning sickness for 12 weeks now, it reminds me of this amazing quote, which is, health is the crown on a well person's head that only a sick person can see. And that is so true because people take for granted just being able to eat regular food or get regular sleep or
I feel like this is coming from experience.
It's coming from pain. It's coming from pain. Golly, this has been lit. But the point is, number 8 is they don't sacrifice relationships or their health for temporary highs or quick cash.
Whoa.
That person that we spoke to the other day that is, bringing up the B word, the bankruptcy word, said, I said, you need to become a real estate agent. That's a lot of money in your area. You could make bank. There's freaking no risk. I know realtors, you're going to argue with me. There's no risk. Okay. Developers have the risk. You do not. And so it's a lot of money to be made for pretty low work with very little risk. It's still important. I'm not dissing it at all. I'm just saying, based on her position, you should do that. She said, well, I don't want to sacrifice my energy and be on call all the time. And I said, you don't have a choice. You have got to put in the hours to claw your way out of this hole until you're out of the hole. Then after you're out of the hole, you get to have all your fun boundaries and energy management. But until then, you're on call, baby. You are on call. And so when I say this point, there's a lot of people who abuse the word balance by letting that be an excuse for them to put in the absolute minimum. But what I'm telling you is industry leading entrepreneurs, they don't sacrifice their relationships, meaning or their health for temporary highs or quick cash, meaning the new successful man isn't cheating on his wife.
Let's go.
Or isn't trading her in for a younger model.
Yep.
He appreciates that this woman has been there with him through the highs and the lows and has believed in him when he was a loser that nobody else ever believed in and probably helped build half the business, but was too shy to take any of the credit for it. They celebrate that wife. They pour into that wife. They invest in that wife. That is the new success. And then their health too. They're not eating at fast food restaurants and putting junk in. They're taking the time to meal prep or have some kind of a service made up or do something to where they understand their investment in their body is a long-term investment. And they're not doing the quick highs of the fried junk food. Like you're watching truly successful people are the healthiest eaters I know. And they also don't drink. That's a really interesting common denominator. None of them drink like at all.
Yeah.
They just want that clarity of mind, and
Yeah.
they love living, feeling good.
Sure.
And so again, they don't sacrifice relationships or health for those temporary highs or quick cash.
Quick question. Do you think the whole drinking alcohol thing becomes like cigarettes
Yeah,
in the next 10
absolutely.
years?
Yeah.
People just stop doing it more or less?
And this is what I see as a movement too.
Yeah.
You know, cigarettes was so socially acceptable.
Are you about to hit us with a free
Free movement.
Oh,
Free movement.
shoot, listen in.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You know, health was already becoming trendy with Instagram little fitness models and stuff like that. Everybody's wanting to see that and get in better shape for more likes and more followers, which is
Sure.
whatever. That's
Cool.
fine.
Yep.
But COVID hit it home where people said, you know, you're getting these comorbidities because you are in horrible shape and other things are happening. Obviously, people died that didn't have, that weren't out of shape, but, and we honor that. But people became fiercely aware of their health, that they're dying of essentially a really bad cold.
Yeah.
You know, a deadly cold.
Yeah.
And so that made, if you look at the data, the desire for health, the awareness of health, and people like wanting to get into shape, like skyrocketed. The industries that were selling healthy food like blew up. And so we're seeing these things happen. But what you can also start seeing too is all these mocktails, all these like alternatives. Because my husband, who is freaking amazing and wonderful, recognized that alcohol was a vice for him, and it was blocking him from his true destiny. And so I think it's 856 days ago, on December 6th, 2020, he decided that that was his last day ever drinking. And he's now been, labeled sober for that long.
Sure.
So I've learned a lot, because alcohol is not a vice for me. I'm just never really spent a lot of time drinking it.
Yeah.
I do like it, but
It's not a problem for you.
it's not an issue at all.
Yeah.
But what I've learned from being around somebody who it was an issue for, who still wants to hang out with people, very extroverted, he said, what matters is having something in your hand that isn't water.
Yes.
And so mocktails are huge, because you are now socially acceptable, that you're not asked, why aren't you drinking? Why aren't you drinking? Why aren't you drinking? And then you have to like tell some weird story.
Yeah. It's just a pressure thing that's
Right.
strange. And then it's a word conversation.
Right. So as people are recognizing that alcohol is a downer and it makes you depressed, and for some people it makes them very suicidal, and it's this keystone. So if you look at an arch, like in Roman buildings, there's this like beautiful keystone that holds the whole arch together. And that keystone can either keep everything together, or when it's removed, make everything fall apart. Some people have realized that alcohol is the keystone issue for them that makes everything else fall apart.
Yeah.
And so again, there's so many commercials I'm seeing now and ads on alternative drinks that look and taste like alcohol, but don't have it in there, and isn't going to give you that poison in your body, essentially, that makes you do stupid things. So people are just recognizing, this is weird. Why am I doing this? So I'm definitely watching, especially high level people, drop it completely.
Pro tip, broke to woke tip right here. If you're listening and you want to make a few $100 million, you should probably start working and creating products that are in this arena.
Amazing mocktails.
Yeah, because Brittany's absolutely right. It is becoming more socially acceptable not to drink, but at the same time, people are thirsty.
And they want to hang out with people who are at bars, because there's really not a lot of other places to go for some people.
Correct. And also, we're not shaming people who drink. Me and Brittany are both saying we openly have alcohol. Well, she doesn't anymore.
Not anymore.
For the next 5 years.
Game over.
But I have a drink on occasion, and it was an issue for me. It's no longer an issue. I've healed that problem. But at the overall arching issue, that keystone thing that you mentioned, your guy had an amazing presentation during Abundance where he said alcohol was the number one enemy between myself and my purpose. So when he realized that was the enemy, and for many men listening to this, many men, I'm just going to let you all know, test me on this if you think I'm wrong, because I'm not. It is your enemy as well.
Can I tell you just the hottest quote ever from him as well?
Hit me.
When he said, I recognized it is the enemy, and when I think of someone or something as the enemy, it doesn't get any part of me. And it just kind of rhymed, but I loved that. The enemy doesn't get any part of me. And so how can you start to identify these enemies in your life? Be it alcohol, be it sending cheaty type messages to exes, be it getting lost in Instagram, video games,
drugs.
Yeah. What are those things? It could also be bad food.
Yeah.
How can you start to decide today that the enemy doesn't get any part of me today, doesn't get any part of me, and just cut it out and go sober from it?
I love that. And it's a great, great tip, because if that's what it required to be an industry leading entrepreneur, not sacrificing your health for that quick pleasure, because quick pleasure could be porn. Quick pleasure could be reaching out to the ex because you're in a relationship, but for some reason you're drunk and you throw a little bit of a text.
Just need a little attention.
Yeah, just a little bit of attention. Your ego needs to be loved on. Those build resentment internally, subconsciously. Your wife's going to know. Your husband's going to know. It's going to be a problem.
One of the things I've been talking about with the heroes lately is just kind of on the same topic.
Sure.
If you are in a relationship and you created that insecurity,
yes,
it's your job to now create that security.
Bingo.
And I'm like, if you've ever cheated, which a lot have,
yeah,
you know, it's a distancy thing. It's hard. If you have ever cheated, your phone is theirs. Your passwords are theirs, and you never have the right to get mad at somebody that you created this trauma in. They've got triggers now.
Yes.
And so it's, if you're going to stay, again, I'm not telling anybody to stay. I'm saying if you're going to choose to stay in a relationship where you've created that level of damage, you have to own and be that protector of your family and that person's heart to rebuild that trust as long as it takes. It's probably never going to fully go away, just like all traumas. Like, you have these survival instincts that say, I recognize those flags. I see you. I see you coming, trauma, and I don't want it to happen again. Protect me.
Yes.
And so again, how can we start to rebuild that trust? How can you go above and beyond versus turn and say, that was 5 years ago, get over it? You never have the right to say that. So either get out of that relationship or choose to be a real man or a real woman, own your ish, step up to the plate and try as hard as you can every day to be reassuring and to never do that again.
I think this is probably a great discussion for the next episode or a future episode, but me and my wife had a little bit of a challenge with that. Meaning something, we had an attack on our relationship from someone in my past.
Oh, snap.
And
hot goss.
Yeah.
Hot goss coming soon. I want to hear all about this.
Let's just do it for the next episode.
Okay.
As you heard in episode 6, I'm pushing my body to the limits. I'm going to where I can go to heal internally. You know why I'm doing it? I'm doing it in support of the Heal the Heroes initiative, because how much work needs to go in to stopping evil in this world. And the men and women that can do it go through the Heal the Heroes program. They care, they love, and they fight fiercely for their country, for their families, and for the people around them. And it's time that we show them how important they are to us. And the way you do that is by nominating a veteran, by doing it entirely for free, sending us your love, sending us your information, and telling us how you can be a part of the Heal the Heroes program. Reach out to us and connect with us on broketoawoke.com to get more information.